Today we're going to be going over the channel Remembrance Ultra, where you can obtain one of the Ultra relics in the game. You're going to have to face Odious, and I'll start things off by talking about what you are going to find in the trial, the things that you have to face. After that, we can move on to the requirements to beat the trial, what units you'll probably need, and then I'll finish this up by going over some comps that you might want to try out. Odious has four main traits: Light Killer, increasing damage to light units; Dark Resistance, reducing any dark damage he would take to 1; crit rate up to cursed units, increasing his crit rate to 100% against units that are cursed; and lastly, he can negate shields, basically breaking any shields that he damages. Odious throughout the trial will alternate between two arts, one being Skeletal Soul and the other one being Sengoku Resonant. In Skeletal Soul, he will damage you, and then he will summon a skeleton. With the Sengoku Resonance, he will lower your curse resistance and then damage you. On top of those two arts I just mentioned, he also has the ability to smash down his sight and run the chance of fainting your unit, as well as charging up his sight, and when he swings it, he runs the chance of cursing your units. The skeletons that he summons and fight by his side do not take damage from any source other from damage over time ailments, such as burn, poison, and nightmare. Having gone over all the challenges that you'll face in the trial, let's start going over some of the mechanics that you need to use in order to beat it. The first mandatory requirement is having the ability to cleanse the curse, otherwise he will have enough damage to wipe out your party when he arts, and also since he does lower the curse resistance, having curse resistance isn't useful. So units such as Sylphiet that have the ability to raise your curse resistance by 100 aren't going to necessarily be as useful as someone such as Rimuru that has the ability to outright cleanse the curse. Increasing your max HP for your units is also a requirement. On top of that, you need to be able to heal. This is a 5-minute trial, so you are going to need an attacker or some form of damage that can help you clear it fast enough. And what we've come to recognize as one of the most important things in the game is art generation. You need art gen in order to be able to use your art in order to beat this trial. And lastly, and most importantly of all, what most people forget about this trial is that you have to make sure you hit that like button and subscribe in order to get a secret buff. Just trust me. And moving on forward, I know that I mentioned this before, but I'll have to mention it again. This boss does negate damage, so in order to counter that, you will need to increase your team's max HP, so you have more HP to work with, and then you have to be able to heal. Preferably, you want to heal for your percentage HP as opposed to a flat amount. You are going to have units that have 15,000 HP or even more than that, and doing that is a little bit easier than it sounds because you can also use food just in case. For this trial, the goated unit in the game is Aristella. She feels the requirement of increasing your team's max HP. She does that with a passive. She increases it by 15%. She can heal for 35% of your max HP. That's all your team members when she arts. And she can also cleanse all status elements when she uses her art. So she is typically used by most comps, if I'm not mistaken. Unless you have someone like Heart, then you can probably use a different cleanser and then use Heart for Art Gauge, healing, and increasing max HP. And it goes without saying, but you can use both of them in the same exact team. And you can round off that comp by using an attacker. And then one more Art Gen, and that should help you clear the trial entirely. If you have Heart and not Aristella, or the other way around, you can substitute either of those units with Rimuru. He's able to use the same art as Aristella, and then his true art is essentially a weaker version of Heart's true art. Rimuru is weaker than both of them. He is like a hybrid unit between the two of them, but you can use him interchangeably. If we look over to the right, we'll see that my team comp is an all mono water team. I didn't have heart and I had to use Rimdu, but since 2 of my 4 units were already water, I decided to go entirely with water. Plus, the buff from the water relics helped out a lot. That was a 20% status up. So in total, I think I had roughly a 65% max HP increase throughout the entire fight, making it a lot easier to survive, and then the heals were really big. Now, even though I used Yusuke for an attacker, you can interchange him with someone like Fox, that's fine as well, as long as your attacker has a 5-star support slot. You don't have to use the same exact comp I use this run. You can substitute Diaz for any other decent art gener, and you can take out Yusuke and put in any other attacker. That'll be fine. You just have to ensure that they have support slot items which you can use to generate art. Other than that, you need to make sure that if you have a defensive slot, that you have armor like Gargantua or Sandstone Screw Weapon. This boss negates shields, but he does not negate damage mitigation. That being said, the only thing left to say is thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.